So I'm finally getting back into the swing of things here, and one of the things that I need to get done is I need to go through all these little topics that I've wanted to talk about that are more topical in nature. Well, yeah, if it's a topic, it's topical. As opposed to the more time-sensitive stuff like the updates that I've been doing and whatnot that are prone to deletion when they become obsolete. But that's another discussion altogether. The first thing I need to talk about, and based on the feedback from what people are saying, I definitely had better do this first and bump everything else underneath it. We gotta talk about what I like to call ScroogeTube. And being smack dab in the middle of the holiday humbug season, it makes perfect sense. So let's talk about the money side of YouTube, where I stand when it comes to YouTube and money, and why I do some of the things that I do. And of course, let's add some nice Forza footage at 60 frames a second, so those of you that don't want to treat this like a podcast and actually watch something as well as listen can watch me get my ass kicked in some race. Or something. I'm just taking a wild guess. Can you tell I'm recording this before I find out what footage I'm going to attach to this discussion? So, anyways, bah humbug. It's holiday humbug season and a great time to talk about this topic. So, when it comes to YouTube and money, I have a long reputation going back to 2007 for not wanting to get too wrapped up in whatever money type stuff YouTube had, because I knew that YouTube, when money started getting involved, some things were going to change in terms of content, what gets promoted, and things like that. And there were some channels that changed how they did things and what they made videos about based on money, and we've seen channels get their content essentially censored by the need to upload what makes them money versus what they really want to do. And it's always been kind of a two-edged sword with money and YouTube the whole time that it's been any kind of thing. However, even before I started playing around with monetization in the spring of 2016, I knew how YouTube operated. YouTube was creating a niche for itself where instead of running like some kind of online storage thing where you had caps and, you know, traffic caps and storage caps and things like that, which is one of the pitfalls of a lot of podcasting sites, it has kept me from, for example, taking the radio style series to a podcast host. But I noticed that YouTube runs things and ran things back in those days as well, more like a radio station or a television station or a media entity in general. Now, the way radio stations operate is they sell advertising, which gives them money, which brings in, which lets them purchase or, hire talent or bring in content and whatnot, which lets them sell advertising, which it's a cycle, basically. Advertising revenue, content for the people that are listening, and you want to try and grow your audience. Now, YouTube is kind of the same way. Instead of operating like some kind of storage type service, they are more like a gigantic media entity of sorts. And it's always been about advertising revenue and what kind of content they can get, because there's user-generated content and anybody can set up an account. And you can set up an account for your business or your this, that, or the other, or a brand channel, or experiment with something and see if it takes off. Things like that. But the big thing with YouTube is it's a platform and it's accessible. However, YouTube always seems to run more like a radio station. So, acknowledging this, even before I started playing around with monetization, I was allowing YouTube to place ads alongside my videos because I know that's what pays the bills. YouTube does not run off of spit and elbow grease. And I remembered the bad old days before the YouTube revolution when hosting video would kill websites because the bandwidth expenses would go through the roof. They couldn't afford it and they would actually go under and shut down. That's what makes YouTube so revolutionary. Yeah, the technology that brought us YouTube, vector graphics video, or Flash video as I called it back in those days, when I went to college and learned Flash MX, and I noticed that there was a way to make video files out of Flash animations back in those days. Yeah, I'm old. But anyways, this vector graphics video, the ability to not need to like host MPEG downloads or something on an internet site in order to have a video service. This whole thing, YouTube has really been revolutionary. So revolutionary that we don't talk about being a YouTuber as much as we just, talk about what we saw on YouTube, what we watched on some video site, or so-and-so put something on their Facebook or their Instagram or something along those lines. But that's something that you should probably start noticing as I talk about these sorts of things, because that's a theme with technology. When technology gets mature, it becomes more transparent. So as an example, In the dial-up days in the 1990s, people talked about being on the internet. Oh, yeah, I was on the internet for 5 hours last night. So, I think I might be spending too much time on the internet. We don't really talk about being on the internet as much as we talk about what we're doing. Oh, I went to ESPN and checked the scores. Oh, I went to this, that, and stuff like that. So, I went onto this website and I bought this thing for my computer, and and yeah. But just being on the internet has kind of given way to what we're doing on that, and we can kind of justify spending lots of time online if we talk about, I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, and it makes you sound like a normal person taking care of things. You're just doing it all through the internet instead of offline sources and things along those lines. And the whole thing with YouTubing is the same way. We don't really talk about, oh, I'm a YouTuber, as much as we talk about things we're doing, a series that we want people to subscribe to, and things along those lines. But getting back to the whole money thing, money's been a part of YouTube the whole time it has existed, and often in a negative way. I remember reading the articles asking before Google bought YouTube if YouTube would survive for more than 5 years because the costs would eventually catch up to this little startup we called YouTube that was so revolutionary in bringing so many people together through crappy video blogs with webcams, unless someone actually was a proper videographer with a real camera and stuff like that. I came into this from my college audiovisual office where we had VHS camcorders on tripods that we let students borrow and stuff like that. So not so much a professional background. I mean, I just had a digital camera at the time, but I eventually moved to camcorders and flash memory and stuff along those lines, and eventually the Sony Handycams that I use today. I could probably move up to something bigger if I ever needed it, but for now, just something that records me tinkering with computers or hardware, video games, or stuff around the house is perfectly fine. Right, back to the topic of monetization and money in ScroogeTube here. Enough of these tangents, darn it. So, I started playing around with monetization because, well, one of the reasons I didn't monetize in the years leading up to 2016 was asset permissions. I had a lot of stuff that was licensed only for non-commercial use, but when I ditched the stock music and I started using stuff from the YouTube audio library, then I was in a position where a lot of the stuff was safe for monetization, even if I, monetized without any credit for whoever made the original track. I've done so if it's really cool, like the Ethan Meixel metal tracks and stuff, but I'm not actually required to give credit for a lot of the music that I use, but I do so anyways because it's pretty good. So when I monetized in 2016, it was just for the heck of it, just to see what would go on. And there has been a change to the numbers and whatnot, almost as if YouTube knocks people down a peg if they turn on monetization. But for the most part, even though the view numbers have been steady or lower over the years, the revenue is actually going up, so the robots are actually doing their thing. And of course, you need a certain amount of activity in order for the revenue to be anything significant. I'm a small channel, so I don't have that. But if I'm a steady Eddie with the uploads and stuff, there's enough stuff coming in that I have not been affected by the various YouTube demonetization waves and things along those lines. And when I went to check and see what my lifetime earnings are, you can't say any numbers per the terms of service. However, I mentioned that I'm having some trouble with money right now, although I did kind of set myself up for sticker shock because I checked my bank balance right after I paid everything for the month of December, including the rent. So of course it's going to be really low, but it's lower than I'd like it to be after paying bills. I've had a lot of surprise expenses this year, car repairs, medical bills, things along those lines that have just, there's been a lot of things where I haven't really done enough cutting things back in order to make up for it and whatnot. And of course, I've gambled and lost on some overtime opportunities, thinking there would be overtime, and then there wasn't, even though I bought some stuff that I was going to pay for with the overtime dollars. And so I'm actually going to take it easy. I have one more SSD that I purchased for a Christmas present for holiday humbug season, and that's really going to be it. I don't even think I'm going to do anything with tax refund time. When tax time rolls around, I'm just going to let that build things back up. So I'm going to get to work on that. But I need to give this whole YouTube ad revenue thing credit, because even though it's just fun money, I haven't really been scaling purchases against what's been coming in as of yet. There is one purchase that definitely counts, and that is the processor upgrade for Tuxedo. There is no reason whatsoever for me to have bought that AMD FX processor. It makes no sense whatsoever. That's going to go into the books in terms of scaling against the incoming ad revenue. But until I get that up to speed, as an example of how little things can add up and matter. If I didn't have this YouTube stuff going on, and haven't had it quietly going on since 2016, I would be in notably worse shape than I am right now in terms of total dollars. So I would be freaking out if I hadn't had quiet little revenue coming in from people supporting me on here with watching videos and passing them along and not ad blocking them and stuff like that. So although the YouTube ad revenue system is infamous for being terrible to the point where even big commercial channels are playing around with merchandising and t-shirts and stuff in order to not have paltry income and stuff like that. The whole YouTube thing has worked out pretty well. Plus, another plus to that is that as people watch what you upload, you earn money. So that means, unlike a job where you got to put in the hours and stuff like that, this stuff just comes in if people find what you do interesting and pass it along to their friends and stuff along those lines. So that's the unique advantage of this in terms of more fun money on the side versus other things I could be doing that I would have to spend even more time. Of course, I am gobbling up some very useful hours to record videos and things like that, but once something's uploaded, like in the case of the dryer video, that thing's been like on autopilot to the furthest corners of YouTube, just money after money after money, because it's the most profitable video on YouTube's end. And that's one of the things I've noticed, is that YouTube's creator literature talks about building an audience and getting subscribers, but as I've watched the numbers myself with the analytics background I have nowadays and the Excel and Power Query skills that I have at crunching the downloads from YouTube, now that YouTube allows downloads of Excel files, which Power Query can then link to and then crunch some numbers for me over and over again, I've seen over and over again. And even before that, actually, I was watching the analytics suite directly before downloads became available. But the pattern has been that whatever makes the money, it's like spinning a flywheel, so to speak. You put in effort to get it spinning, and then it starts spinning of its own momentum once it's up to full speed. But the pattern over and over again is whatever makes the most money for YouTube, YouTube's algorithms promote the most. So I am not trying to be commercial here. The thing is, the reason why I keep bringing up things like ad blockers and stuff like that is even though the money is terrible, it does add up eventually if you put in enough effort. But the big thing with this is that I've just been watching YouTube basically be a gigantic Scrooge of the internet, not just with, declining ad revenues and stuff like that and how much they share with the creators, but just the simple fact that again and again and again, the content that I've seen do the best is the stuff that brings in the most money, not the stuff where people like it the most or they subscribe to it the most or even the stuff that they watch the most. If the money is there, the algorithms let it continue being something on YouTube. If the money dries up, it dies. And it makes a difference, folks. The best thing you can do for me, if you like my tech videos, if you like my content, if you like what I do, and you still want to run an ad blocker, either because I know there's invasive ads out there, and there's even browsers like Avast Secure that come with an ad blocker as a standard feature. Now, if you want to support what it is that I do, because we know that YouTube is such a Scrooge about things, whitelist YouTube and hit the skip ad button just like I do. Look at your phone while the commercials are running or something like that. There's ways you can get around still having to put up with ads on YouTube. Whitelist YouTube or whitelist my channel. Just do something, because what I've seen over and over again is that no matter what anybody says or even what YouTube says, it's always the biggest money makers of videos, and it's in many cases not actually my best work. It's just the most profitable on YouTube's end that is getting the endless views. Over 100,000 views on a rambly, vlog-ish wacky world of MultimediaJay about a portable Magic Chef dryer. I cannot explain that. But it makes money, so it just keeps going and going and going and stuff like that. So I don't know why this happened. I have no control over it. I have no idea why it's happening, except, of course, if YouTube promotes what makes them the most money. So that's why I'm saying, can we do this again? Can we do this again with something like the Dellasaurus videos, the tech videos, things like that, because the tech videos have, from the numbers, they routinely take more damage from ad blocking type stuff or something that takes expensive advertising in terms of CPMs, cost per million impressions, and and what it actually brings in revenue wise. And we're seeing it too with Dell Optiplex, another Dellasaurus, that video that I did where I borrowed a computer as I was transferring it between buildings for the 9-to-5ers, and I basically put some benchmark software on there, ran some stuff, and then took it off before taking it in the next morning. And of course I didn't do anything that would mess with the software that the company had on there, but it was just a cute little side experiment while I had the computer for a night. That sucker has gotten into the tens of thousands of views, but it is advancing slowly. And that's the thing too, the tech videos are advancing slower, if they advance at all, versus other types of content that I'm uploading. So, and that's why we've gotten to the point where views don't seem to matter anymore. I mean, I can get crap views on just about anything I upload nowadays, but the extra views that I'm getting on tech content don't matter if the revenue is lower, and so YouTube has even less of a reason to promote that. Now, I am doing digging through the numbers to see what that magic spark is, if there is anything in the algorithms that's not something going viral and people sharing stuff on social media or something like that, which would be beyond the number system. That would be when I could expect something like what happened with the dryer video, what happened with the washer video, what happened with Windows 8 versus the Dellasaurus, which was the first video to do that, and even things like the Mana Potion humidifier or sloppy speaker showdown. I mean, I just keep getting surprised and sometimes trolled by these videos that suddenly start making money, so YouTube's algorithms start passing them around again, and it's tiresome and intriguing, a little of both actually, to have people guffawing me in the comments because of stuff that I already have acknowledged and have fixed. It's just that they're watching a 2-year-old video, and I've learned so much since then, and I don't do this stuff anymore, but that's the first time they see something I do on here, and they're like, oh yeah, you ramble too much, or something like that. So that's the whole thing. So where I stand on money is, I am a casual monetizer. There are some boundaries that I have set. I don't like mid-roll ads. I'm particularly getting annoyed with Facebook right now because you go to watch something on Facebook and there's an ad coming up and it's going to just cut you off and you have to sit there. I'm like, give me a break. At least YouTube has a skip ad button or really short ads so you get back to your content. But if I ever wanted to mess with mid-roll ads, I will make something that looks like a television show. And I'll say, we'll be right back after these messages, da-da-da-da-da. And I actually will make commercial breaks to insert the ads into and set them up manually after the upload. That's for when I really want to make something look like television. I've even tossed around the idea of a Wacky World of MultimediaJay that resembles late night comedy or late night television or something like that. I don't have the setup for it, but I have thought of that from time to time. And I would, kind of make it, look like a TV show with commercial breaks. But there's really nothing quite like you're watching even a content creator that you like and suddenly everything cuts out and, oh, look, hi, Geico, how you doing? What's your goofball commercial nowadays? So, but that's the thing. I'm a casual monetizer, but it's just part of the ecosystem here on YouTube, and it's how they operate, and it's how the website's the platform, I should say, is going to remain viable. Is they operate very much like a media type empire or entity or something. That it's about revenue, then content, then revenue, then content. So if you get in the way of the money coming in, even though it is annoying to have to click skip ad after 5 seconds, you're still talking about a situation where you're basically eating into the lifeblood of a media something or another in a way that traditional media doesn't have to deal with. I mean, a radio station that's playing commercials is just going to stop and do commercials. There is no ad blocking, for example, the commercials on a radio station. Oh yeah, we're at a commercial break, pay some bills. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, so sit tight and we'll be back after these messages. I keep bringing that up because I grew up with Saturday morning cartoons, and after these messages, we'll be right back. Some of the TV networks back in the day used to really have some fun with the fact that they were going to a commercial break and stuff along those lines. Some podcasts still do that today. So, all right, it's time to pay some bills, so da-da-da-da-da. So I'm not a fan, though, of not product placement, but having an ad as part of the video upload. So that's another practice that I don't like. But it'll suffice to say, as we pass the 20-minute mark with this discussion, and wow, do I even have enough Forza footage to tie up to this thing? It will suffice to say, though, that I want to keep the monetization casual, because I don't want to be like these channels that get where money starts affecting their content. So if I was in a situation where I had my Review Tech USA moment and it made more sense to quit a day job or quit a 9-to-5 and do YouTube full time, I would keep the 9-to-5. Because as we've seen, having all your eggs in one basket is risky, even if it's your own basket via YouTube, so to speak. I mean, if you work for somebody else and they lay you off, that's trouble. But also, if something weird happens to your account and your revenue stops, that's trouble too. So I think all these people that jumped on the YouTube bandwagon during the downturn and kind of made it this kind of dream of people to, I want to make money off of YouTube all the time, or Twitch streaming, or blah, blah, blah. I think that what's happened with all of this, what's happened there is that we've had our experience colored a little too much by the downturn and the ridiculous things that were going on when it came to jobs and recruiting during the downturn. And perhaps some of us were a little too quick to exchange one risky employment situation for another. But in any event, ScroogeTube, it's a thing. We can talk all day about what we'd like YouTube to be, but in terms of what it is as a platform and how it works and how things are with it, no matter what we think of what's going on, this is the way things are going on right now, and we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do about it? And what can we control? Are we going to drive ourselves nuts because of stuff that we can't do anything about, or are we going to work with what's been laid out before us? I'd like to work with what's been laid out before us. So if you like what I do and you use ad blocking software, then whitelist YouTube or whitelist my channel or do something, because I'll tell you right now, I do not ad block YouTubers because I know how this game is played, and I realize that I'm actually quietly sabotaging their channel and the ability of them to get views and whatnot if I ad block videos just because it's convenient for me. And then, of course, you see all the big YouTubers like, oh, my numbers are slowly dropping, and then the troll folks jump on them like, your channel's dying, and stuff like that. But that's another discussion entirely. But yeah, the way to support YouTubers is to allow YouTube to do its thing to try and pay its bills, because that's how the site keeps itself afloat. Oh yeah, but what about the big corporate things, the things along those lines? Well, if the big corporate things paid for everything, then we wouldn't have issues with the whole advertising sort of thing now, would we? So I think YouTube knows people are annoyed by having to click a skip ad button, but if they could they have it because there's some reason why they can't get rid of it. Oh, but it's greed. They just bring in more money that way. Yeah, well, there's also a little something in the world of accounting called goodwill, which is what your customers or whatever your community thinks of you. So that isn't trackable on an income statement or balance sheet, but it can have effects on the money you bring in. But that's also another discussion. So I hope this has been enlightening to some of you folks when it comes to the whole ScroogeTube thing and my whole approach to money and whatnot on here. I'm not getting involved in it because I think it's going to make me super rich or anything. I don't think it will. It's cool to have a little extra fun money for tech purchases and stuff like that. But it's simply a matter of I'm acknowledging the way that YouTube operates and am operating within what's been spread out before me instead of endlessly complaining about it. AKA quit dwelling on the problem and look for the answer. Those are some good words to live by the way. Thanks for listening and watching, folks. This is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.